What do we have waiting for us this week? What shall we tell everyone at a block chat on a new block chat where the past week the team had a big task force meeting, and much that the community has been waiting for quite a good amount of time is coming on. What should we start that block chat with? We started with welcome joining us on our energy, isn't it, Dennis? What do you think? Dennis disappeared all of a sudden. So join us this week and stay till the end. We will present to you some details of what's coming, some details of something very interesting coming up. You've been waiting for the point, you've been waiting for the new interface, you've been waiting for few things that will materialize, and now is the time. So join us and stay with us till the end. It's Denis Petrovcic and Makram Hani on a new block chat. Dennis, how are you?
Good. I'm great. Had some connection issues just as we started.
That's why I said he froze and then disappeared. So.
yeah. It's, I don't know. It happens sometimes,
Exactly.
How are you? How are you, Mark?
Amazing. What should we tell everyone today, Dennis? What should we tell everyone to wait for and expect?
I think Oceanpoint 1.0 is something that we've been all waiting for a long time. We started Oceanpoint 0.1. We launched it on the 22nd of February 2022. We're now in mid or end of January 2025. So 3 years from that date. Some will say that this should have been done earlier. And they are right. It should have been done earlier, but there's certain things that you can't force. You cannot do certain things. One of the things was MiCA regulation. You can't have MiCA regulation go faster. You can't do much if you don't have regulation in place that can then give you certainty of operating under a specific regulatory requirement, which led us to incorporate the company in Luxembourg. So that we can kind of implement on a commercial level the notarization process that we piloted back in 2023. So there's a lot of things that come together, and then once they do, you can go to the next step. You can do tech development based on it, because you know that the invested time and money is going to be utilized and reflected somewhere. And Oceanpoint version 0.1
earlier. But it's debatable if it should have been done earlier. I believe now is the time, because as per the roadmap, it's proving that the time is right, yeah?
The time is perfect. And what we've done is we've really, rolled up our sleeves and planned a co-working workshop offsite, let's say. Some people in the team said, well, Marco said, hey, we are always offsite because we work remotely, right? But what we've done is this, usual startup thinking, which is, rent the house, get shit done. And here, we are a startup, but we're in a different position than, a team that needs to figure it out and get together. We figured it out during last year, doing a lot of work, a lot of, groundwork. That resulted in a product requirements document that has real clear guidance for the team on what should be done and how it should be done. And that was our starting point. So we gathered with this document a clear goal, 7 people from the team with different skill sets, and spent 4 days together. And what we've done is implemented much of what's needed to get Oceanpoint version 1.0 live.
You know what? They went to Bled. Who doesn't know Bled? It's a very nice place. Denis took me there and invited me. We were on the way to Munich. You remember?
Yeah.
We were stuck in some traffic. Yeah, exactly. And what was the name of the suite that that we had in Bled?
Um, the sweet. Oh, it's
Yeah, yeah.
kremschnitter. It's like
Ah,
this. It's like this vanilla cream, like cake that is basically, well, it has I think whipped cream on top, and then two slices of really thin, kind of layered biscuit.
yeah.
And it's a quite. You can nowadays get it all over Slovenia. Really good quality. But Bled is where it comes from.
So you need to go to Bled and enjoy it. So they took a house there. The guys were in the same house together. By the way, you scan the QR code that you see down there. You see some of the behind the scenes mess that we were up to. Yeah.
There's a blog post that the team has put together, and I think it was published just today. So it's fresh content. You can either scan the QR code. If you're on mobile, just type in blog.blocksquare.io and click on the latest post. And you're going to be able to read about, what we have done there, kind of a summary. But yeah, I think it was a really cool experience. You could see, everybody is used to working on this remote, and it's a real experience, because working remote has so much pros to it. There's no commuting, so you have much more of your time in life, and at the same time, it's a different way of communicating. So it's asynchronous communication many times, especially if there's time zones involved. When you get everybody together, everybody knew that we have 3 days, well, 3 nights, 4 days of time to
You
make it
put it on
happen.
steroids. You put productivity on steroids. Is it?
So we were working around the clock every day. And then in the evening, either, first evening we cooked something in, had some beers together. The rest of the time, maybe we ordered in, and as well, breakfast in the house. And so we were staying there most of the time. Obviously, we went for a walk. It's in a beautiful nature location, the house. We also went for a walk and so forth. But the main goal for everyone was, let's make the best of the time we have together so that we can do stuff that otherwise would take us a month. And it doesn't mean that the other part, somebody commented, hey, we should be here for a year, and what will come out of it, right? And yeah, maybe there's a point to it, but a part of developing something new, groundbreaking, that hasn't been done before, is also in not rushing it. It's not just rush it and break things. I don't think that's the only approach. There's the approach of do it right, and everything has its own time, and there's patience that is required. There's patience that people required that joined us in 2022 on the Oceanpoint journey up until today, and this patience is spans across 3 years. So thank you everyone who is being patient here. But this is what we've done in Blade is really groundbreaking, and 2025 is going to be really, really a game changer for Blocksquare's ecosystem as a whole, because we're getting Oceanpoint, the liquidity engine. That's what we're getting.
We are up to many things that we've talked about, discussed, and grinded over for the past few years, and now is the time to implement them for many reasons. Now we sent Denis to Bled as with a regular T-shirt. Look what he came back with. Can you show us, Denis?
So
he he came back bullish. So
it's a T-shirt. There's a video I made during our time in the house, and it's in the blog posted there. You can watch it. We made these shirts for the team. Makram, you're getting one today or
today.
tonight. Simon is bringing one to you, and it really kind of a simple thing that connected us in a way as well, because BST is the life and and blood of our team. that's what connects everyone, even though that we are remote. We are all working with the same goal, to make BST great, a great asset. And that's, something that is far more complicated and complex than people think. It's there's a lot of factors, and if you want to have an asset that's consistently valuable, and with the underlying real estate network we're building, that's something that I believe we can achieve. And point tokens, which is something that comes with Oceanpoint version 1.0, is a crucial component to it.
What is a point, Denis? So, guys, a point coin is in the works since several years now, and it has evolved as a theory and as a thought. And here we are with something that took so much of work, so much of effort, and so much of thinking from all ends, from a commercial point of view, from a community point of view, from a liquidity point of view, from an engine and an ecosystem point of view, from a risk management point of view, from all sides. Too many people have put so much effort into it. What is a point, Denis?
So, in short, I see point tokens as a value and liquidity aggregator token. It basically aggregates the value of all BSPT tokens that the protocol holds at that point of time. On the other end, there's as well a portion of this portfolio of so it's it's composed. The composition is of two types of assets: tokenized real estate and stablecoins. That's two components to it, and point tokens wrap them around those two, and basically have a much higher market cap than individual BSPT tokens, and thus serve as liquidity providing tokens that are wrapping everything together.
So let me translate this into language that people like me would understand well. What a point token is a hybrid between what a flat coin would represent from value and what a stable coin would represent from value. So neither is it's not a stable coin. It's closer to a flat coin than a stable coin, because when you link a coin value,
maybe if you just explain what a flat coin is, because maybe some people, it's not a concept that is widely, but I think it's something that is upcoming. So flat coins, what are flat coins like in its original form?
So let me start with a stable coin. As you know, guys, a stable coin represents a peg to a certain currency. It can be a stable coin that represents a peg to the US dollars, to euro, to a prominent currency, to any other currency. Now, many countries, I believe, will peg if they launch a USDC, sorry for saying the word, they would probably peg it to their own currency, and the currency can be pegged to a currency, to another currency, or to a bag of currencies. Regardless, or to commodities. Regardless, that's a stable coin, it's pegged to that. What a flat coin came up to say is that we want to connect it, or we want to peg it to the cost of living. Now, when you look at the CPI index and when you look at inflation and how it impacts things, you see that generally fiat currencies lag behind from a value perspective. Why? For many reasons. I'll not go into that. We've talked about that repeatedly, and I'm sure many people are talking about it globally. Now, when you talk today about Bitcoin, again, guys, I'm someone who've never bought Bitcoin. Probably I will never buy Bitcoin.
Don't brag about it too much.
Don't brag about that at all. Okay, I'm not sure why wouldn't I buy it. I'm not the guy to buy Bitcoin. But regardless, I believe all the characteristics that, or most of them, because I'm sure I'd be missing one or two, that Bitcoin can hold, a flat coin does, without the hyperbolic potential to grow in value. It's pegged to cost of
Makram.
living. In other
So
words,
for instance,
yeah,
everybody heard about the Big Mac index. I guess everybody heard about the Big Mac index. It basically is tracking the price of Big Mac across different countries over a longer period of time. And if you look at that index, you see that the price of a Big Mac has grown in the last 10 years or 15 years or 20 years. With a flat coin, the price would never change. It would always be, let's say, 3 flat coins, right? And that's how it should function. So even though that in dollars, a Bitcoin is always more, not a Bitcoin, a Big Mac is always more expensive. With a flat coin, it should kind of cost the same amount. With Bitcoin, for instance, we all know the pizza story, right? And that pizza story is basically proving that Bitcoin is not a flat coin because somebody paid 10,000 Bitcoin in that time to buy a pizza. While now, you would need just a small fraction of it to actually buy. It would not even make sense to use Bitcoin to purchase a pizza because of transaction fees. So essentially, here the similarity or where point tokens can draw from those two concepts is because of the underlying assets, right? So on one side, the composition of the portfolio is stablecoins, and that's where phase one is going to be focused on. And then on phase two, we introduce BSPT tokens, and we try to get the composition, the target composition of the portfolio to a, 20% ratio, 20-80 ratio, where 80% is in stablecoins, 20% is in BSPTs. And then in phase three, we're going to try and reverse this. So 80% BSPTs and 20% stablecoins. So that's kind of the journey. And when you look at this portfolio composition, what happens is that you have two assets. One, you have stablecoins, and then inherently point tokens have qualities of stablecoins. And one of those qualities is a fixed conversion rate 1-to-1. So for 1 point, you get 1 USDT or 1 DAI or 1 USDC, right? Or $1 worth of tokenized real estate. So on the other part of the composition, you've got real estate, tokenized real estate, and that gives you basically the qualities that are more alike or coming from a flat coin, right? Or conclusions that you can draw from flat coin. Now this fixed conversion rate is going to be at the beginning 1-to-1. But how the portfolio and the protocol is built to grow is to achieve a certain over collateralization. What does this mean? It means that the value of the underlying assets, it's greater than the circulating supply of points. So that's what it tries to establish over time. And over a longer period or long enough period of time, the protocol should reach a certain over collateralization that from a risk perspective is not really justified anymore, because if you have 150% over collateralization and most of the composition is real estate, you're like, okay, now what do we do with that excess value, right? We need to do something. So if the market behaves rationally, it's going to value points in the liquidity pools, in the trades. People are going to value points above that 1-to-1 conversion. It might be 1.2 or 1.3, and it might stay there for a longer period of time. Now, what can be done there is adjust the conversion rate within the Oceanpoint contract to reflect this market behavior. And this, as soon as this is being adjusted, every point holder basically has increased purchasing power over the underlying assets, so that can then draw similarities with a flat coin. Obviously, at the beginning is not going to have that quality. It's going to have a quality that's more like or coming from the stablecoin composition. So I'm saying that it just has the potential of drawing qualities from one or the other based on the composition of the portfolio.
And here it's very important because with a point token, whenever you talk BSPTs, it's a property token, and BSPTs hold the composition of real estate as an asset class. So the characteristics of the asset class real estate is subsequently passed on in part to a point coin or point token. the value of that to our ecosystem, why is the point token there? And when you talk about liquidity aggregation, to go back to the language you've used initially, what is the value add in that, and how does that work?
We all know, everybody in our community knows that BSPT tokens are meant to create liquidity on a portion of a specific real estate asset. So let's say we have a property worth $1 million and somebody tokenizes 20% of it. That's a $200,000 market cap for that token. That's a tiny market cap. Can you expect people to trade it? Yes, of course. People can trade it and they have net asset value as a reference, and they can trade it at a premium or a discount, right? So there's potential liquidity for it, but that liquidity is very thin because nobody's going to kind of put market make, let's say, the order book there, right? Now, if you have a large enough portfolio of these BSPT tokens, let's say you have 100 of them or 1,000 of them, right? And each of them is, a certain value. You can come with the cumulative value of 100 million. Now, you can then aggregate it under points, and now you have a token that has 100 million circulating supply or 100 million market cap. Now, that can find liquidity much more easily through DeFi protocols like Uniswap and similar, because people can use point tokens and any other crypto asset and lock it into a pool and provide liquidity for it. And there can be, fees on the swaps and whatever you want, so that it's incentivize people to do it. Or you can use mechanisms like we have already established on Oceanpoint, and people are used to it, that can create an incentive for it. And those incentives can come from this underlying portfolio. The revenues that are being generated can, let's say, buy back BST and use that BST to reward those who provide liquidity in the BST point liquidity pool, for instance, right? So using BST, you're adding points to it, and you're adding utility to BST through it, because it's the main routing now for any swaps to happen. So liquidity is always going to swap through it in a way. There might be other pools in the future that come, but we're going to start with BST points. So that's kind of the first pool that's going to be launched in phase 1. Now, the why is there a need for it besides the small market cap of a single BSPT is access. Currently, if you want to buy BSPT, if you want to get exposure to a BSPT, to a tokenized real estate property, you need to KYC. You need to go on the marketplace, you KYC, you provide the data, you're whitelisted, and bam, now you can purchase properties on Oceanpoint, on the Oceanpoint's marketplace or any marketplace in our ecosystem, right? With point tokens, you can have this inherent quality of holding an asset that has a backing of a larger portfolio of properties, of real estate assets, without KYC, because essentially it's a crypto asset, point tokens. It's a different type of token. It doesn't bear any revenues. So it's not a revenue generating one where you hold those tokens and you get paid. No. Does it appreciate in value? As we said, potentially it could, because the over collateralization can drive this value creation. Yes. But is that kind of a one that is volatile? Probably not, because we always have that on the other end, that you can swap with 1 point, you can purchase $1 worth of real estate or $1 worth of stable coins. So it has that kind of function built in. And then the third part, is besides, this liquidity issue for BSPTs, small market cap, and then access for it, it's as well something that, based, if you look at our kind of deck we have, there's as well settlement, right? So selling BSPT tokens currently is not instant, and people in our community know that, right? Now with Oceanpoint version 1.0, what's going to happen is that when you participate in the secondary market, there's going to be also routing through Oceanpoint. So essentially for the user, that means, hey, I want to sell BSPTs. I can sell them instantly. And the reason for it is because it goes through a settlement through points. So if on one side we have real estate and on the other side we have fiat, you want to sell BSPTs, you can always sell them to Oceanpoint. There's points received for it, and it swaps to DAI, and you get DAI onto your wallet, right? And the reason for it is because of asset liquidity. So real estate is the least liquid here on this linear kind of axis, and then you have fiat on the other end, which is the most liquid one, right? And then you have aggregate states like with I don't know, water. You have ice, water, and gas, right? And here is the same thing. You have USD, and then you have tokenized fiat, which is DAI, for instance, or stable coins as we call them. And then you have points tokens, and then you have tokenized real estate, and then you have real estate, right? So this is, I think, the three parts that are being solved by Oceanpoint 1.0.
So today, if we want to say the point will add liquidity and assist the BSPT being more liquid, adding it to Oceanpoint, will it help all marketplace operators and all marketplaces and all tokenized properties on our ecosystem in general become more liquid?
Like short answer,
How?
Yes. So from a user perspective, they're not going to see much change. There's, you buy and you sell. There you can swap, but now you can swap basically just like you can go and swap on Uniswap, for instance. You go and you convert from DAI into USDT instantly, no problem. There's a fee to it, of course, but you can do it, right? And here it's kind of the same thing. It's going to be just another option on the secondary market for users, and essentially users not going to even see it. It's not going to be like an instant sell button there. It's going to be a sell button and a buy button, just as it is now. But in the back, this routing is also an option, and if it's a more convenient option for the user, then it routes through it. So that's from that perspective. From a perspective of a property owner, this becomes key, because if a property is structured, if a tokenization is structured according to our requirements, and the requirements to interact with Oceanpoint is going to be going through the Luxembourg entity with the notarization. So that's the first requirement. Doing a tokenlytics report, that's requirement number 2. And obviously the other requirements that are anyways part of the tokenization, like evaluation report and stuff like that, right? But those two, the first two, are going to be the requirement for us to, hold a certain standard. And if that matches, then these tokens can be included in Oceanpoint. It means that the owner can now, let's say he's tokenizing 5%, they're going to get probably a 50% threshold on issued tokens for Oceanpoint. So he's going to be able to sell, let's say, 5,000 tokens to Oceanpoint and instantly receive payment for it, right? And as well, or liquidity for it. And then the rest, the other 5,000, he can put on sale to the community of the marketplace, right? So it has that option. That option is possible. And that changes things quite a lot. If you go to a property owner as a certified partner and you say, hey, you can get instant liquidity, but this is how you need to do that, right?
Yeah. So you have the liquidity. You are able to hopefully liquidate or liquefy a BSPT faster. Does this create a new characteristic to tokenized real estate beyond the usual liquidity aspect of it that regular and conventional forms of real estate do not have?
In my view, it does. In my view, it does create a new. It's a new option, right? It's a new option.
So it's liquidity that's available on demand 24/7 in a way or another. It's not liquidity that is that needs to be waited for. While in conventional real estate, you may need to wait for 6 to 12 months for liquidity to come your way. In tokenized real estate, you may need to wait a few days or weeks. Probably here, it's there.
It's there.
Most of the time, it's there when you want it.
Most of the time, it's there when you want it. There's certain premium and discount rates in the protocol because the protocol needs to make money as well, right? And so it utilizes the cost of time as a reference, right? So what do I mean by it? If I need liquidity now, I'm willing to pay to sell it at a discount. I need to be willing to sell it at a discount. If I can wait for it and I want to sell at par, at NEV, for instance, I can put it on the market and wait for somebody else to match my sell order. So it's simple as that. Like I do, it's like going on Amazon or eBay. You're going like on eBay and you can put a bid to purchase something, or you can buy now, right? And it's the same thing here, right?
And here's an option to sell now. So imagine that there is, call it a fund in the US, and the minute that you want to sell your property in your community, the fund buys it.
Exactly.
And the fund says that, you know what, we have $10 million allocated to buy properties in this community. Imagine something of that sort. And now imagine the repercussions of that. What does that offer as benefit to that real estate, to that property, and to that token? Yeah,
exactly.
So here is the exponential liquidity premium that is beyond the usual liquidity premium we're talking about. The more liquid you make something, the more dynamic it is, and the more possible it is to benefit from that liquidity premium. At the same time, availability of liquidity removes a big part, big part to all of the non-liquidity discount. So usually, if you're selling real estate here or there, you may need to discount depending on the cycle and the part of the market. Now here, you may still need to discount, but not as much, maybe. Not as much all the time, probably.
So as we see it from risk perspective, so Daniel was working a lot on the risk perspective, on simulating, how we create this dynamic adjustment of rates. That's something we've been working on, and we spent basically day two, the whole day running simulations, and it's something that otherwise it would take us much longer. And while the dev team the technical team, engineering, were working on implementing smart contract logic and stuff like that.
And this is not the beginning of the simulations. We've been doing simulations on this for 3-4 years.
What we implemented during that time in the house is a dynamic rate. So before we had like a much more static one, now it's a dynamic rate on premium and discount, on buys and sells of BSPT tokens, and then on swaps, so withdrawals and deposits of stablecoins, there's a rate as well. And those rates are basically have an exponential function that defines them and adjusts them, and they have they're kind of clamped at a certain level, right, to a certain value, and it's created in a way that it automatically adjusts based on the portfolio composition that is currently versus the target composition. So there's a target. Let's say the composition at the beginning of phase 2 is going to be 0 BSPT and 100% stablecoins, right? But we want to get to 20%. So we set the target, and the function in the contract automatically adjusts the rates as BSPT tokens get sold to the protocol. It adjusts the rate dynamically with every deposit until it reaches a certain level to disincentivize BSPT deposits because the target has been reached, and so it's something that moves all the time and it adjusts all the time, and it's going to be interesting to see how it drives, what type of assets are being deposited or withdrawn from it on the stablecoin side as well on the BSPT side, right? So yeah.
what else do you want to share with our community today?
So how we plan on approaching this is we're going to do a release. So we're writing a white paper now. It's being written. And once the white paper is kind of confirmed internally from the governance board, it's going to be published. And why it's going to be? It's going to be published and pushed to you, to our community, right? And the reason is we want to gather feedback. We want to have the minds of our community look into it, read through it, and have questions. What is not being understood, because sometimes it can be rephrased, right? You can phrase it in a different way, and then it's clear, right? Then it's something complex becomes easy to understand. Maybe there's some new concepts that somebody would like to propose, and that's as well something valuable because we maybe haven't thought about it, and those kind of things. So that's going to be this phase until we get the smart contract logic finished, and then sent for an audit. Now, we would be able to launch phase 1 within the next 3 weeks if audit time permits. However, we need to have the logic for phase 2 already implemented during the deploy of the contract, the first deploy of the first contract logic. It can be upgraded later on. That's not a problem. But the amount of lines of code for phase 1 and phase 2, the difference is like 300 or 400 lines of code. So if phase 1 has, 50 or 80 lines of code, phase 2 has 400 plus, right? And that kind of big difference is something that we would like to avoid.
It's not a journey in the park.
Exactly. So as well, we believe that if we are now at 70 or 80% of the code done for phase 2 already, and so there's just a small gap to get us to that 100%, and it makes more sense to just send one big contract to the audit for auditing than do it separately twice. Also from a cost perspective, it makes sense, right? Yeah.
It's coming. It's coming very soon. You just need to wait for days, no longer years, no longer months, hopefully, and you'll see new things happening that we have all been working and waiting for some time.
So here's the launch roadmap. I know we've been longer than usual on this block chat, but
no. I believe everyone would love to take it for another 2-3 minutes.
So there's a launch roadmap in place. Like we're talking, when you hear us talk, we say phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 is not being mentioned many times, but it's there. And there's even a phase 4, but just for the sake of being focused, let's focus on phase 1 now. So in phase 1, our goal is going to be to bootstrap the supply of points tokens. And this has been a key step that for a long period of time, we didn't have an answer to. And then we figured it out. And we're going to bootstrap the supply of point tokens with stablecoins. We're going to first implement the usage of one stablecoin, but we might add others. So we're going to focus on DAI at first. And so there's going to be the ability for anyone to deposit DAI to receive points tokens, and then deposit points to receive DAI. So redeemability is at any point present. It's there, right? Throughout phase 1, no problem. Even then, with the dynamic rates, it's always present, even in phase 2 and phase 3. So you can always redeem 1 point for one DAI. And then we're going to deploy a liquidity pool with BST and point tokens on Uniswap. And people are going to be able to utilize BST and point tokens to provide liquidity there, and then take those LP tokens to Oceanpoint and stake them to earn an APY, just in the same way as they do now with the BST ETH liquidity pool. So very simple to understand for most people in DeFi. And the goal there is to bootstrap supply for point tokens. Once we reach a certain level that we feel we're happy with, we're going to step into phase 2. And this means adding BSPT tokens to the composition of the portfolio, underlying composition of Oceanpoint's portfolio. And that's then phase 2. But everything will be really clearly explained as well in the white paper. And so, next 2 weeks, we're going to have a white paper out, I hope. And that's going to then create new conversations and new learnings for everyone.
Testings are gonna happen. All your contributions will be very valuable. Remember, many members of the community have ended up being heads of departments and tasks in our operation. So it's very valuable what you put forward. Remember, the head of risk today used to be a member of the committee and still is. So that's very important for us. So please come forward with your contribution on Telegram as well as on Discord. If you wish, Discord, as I don't visit Discord, so I hope you do much more of it.
Who cares what you use? You didn't buy Bitcoin, so it's like, who cares what Makram
exactly
thinks?
I'm the guy who's but I'm bullish. Look, I'm getting my t-shirt tonight, so I'll be bullish starting this evening. Thank you, Denis. Thank you for all members of the team who put so much effort in it. Can we put the QR code again for
yes,
everyone to see it and be able to go through what the team have done and Bled. Thank you all for joining our energy today. Denis, do you have anything else to tell our community today?
Thanks for the patience since 2022. Thanks for the patience since 2018. This year is going to be really interesting and fun.
And guys, whoever is on mobile or computer, please feel free to join the QR code. Otherwise, you can go through the blog posts directly on blog.blocksquare, isn't it, Denis?
Blocksquare.io.
Perfect. Thank you all for being part of our energy today. Until the next blog chat. Have a good day.
Thank you, Makram.